What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a movie that was just released on VOD recently, and I hadn't seen a trailer for this movie yet, but I did read some reviews after seeing that it was available, and people have been praising this very highly since its release, talking a lot about the creativity level and the performances and the childlike wonderment that the film has. And people have paralleled this to movies like The Goonies and The Lost Boys, and a lot of movies that kind of fall under that, younger kids as the leads going on this adventure. And that made me very excited to watch the movie. And the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is Riddle of Fire. Riddle of Fire is directed by Weston Rizzulli. Three mischievous children embark on an odyssey when their mother asks them to run an errand. On the hunt to obtain her favorite blueberry pie, the children are kidnapped by poachers, battle a witch, outwit a huntsman, befriend a fairy, and bond together to become best friends forever. So I was very excited to watch this movie, especially after some of the early reviews that I read, and I thought this movie was really entertaining. I don't think I liked it as much as some other people did. I feel like the movie's flaws often outweigh the positives, but I do think overall the film is incredibly entertaining and it's beautifully shot, and I'm excited to tell you about it today. So at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to three children, Hazel, Jody, and Alice, and we see them go to this warehouse and they steal this video game system, and they get back to their house, and when they plug the video game system in, they realize that the mother has set a child lock on the TV, and so they're worried the mom won't give them the password, so they make her breakfast, do all this stuff. They go into her room and she's sick and she's laying in bed and she's feeling awful, and they try to get her to get the password, and she's like, no, I know you'll just stay inside and play video games all day long, but she's craving this blueberry pie from a store in town, and she says, if you can go get me a slice of blueberry pie, I'll give you the password to the TV. So the kids go to the store to get one of the pies. The store is sold out, and the person who bakes the pies is sick for the day. So they go to the person who makes the pie, manage to get the recipe. The entire film is these kids trying to track down the ingredients for the recipe for the blueberry pie and running into all this different trouble along the way. So as I said, I thought this movie was really entertaining. For starters, I want to talk about the visual style. This is shot on 16mm film and it looks beautiful. The colors are very vibrant. The attention to detail and the shot selection is excellent. You can really tell that the director was trying to give this film a very specific feel. He nails it. It feels like something directly out of the 1970s, and I appreciated that a lot about the movie. The three child actors that are the leads in the movie all do a really nice job. I think they have really great chemistry. There's some funny moments between them. The girl in the friend group is hilarious. She's super foul-mouthed and over the top, and she adds a lot to the core group. I'm still kind of confused though, because one of the kids in the group is subtitled, but he speaks English. I don't know if the director just thought because of the way he speaks that people would have a hard time understanding, or if it was trying to be like a comedic punch. But either way, it was relatively strange. The only actor in this movie that I recognized was Leo Tipton, who I really enjoy, who does a really great job in this movie. The villains in this film are fantastic. They're menacing. They do a really solid job with the material. I also like the fantasy element of this. It's obviously taking something simple as these kids trying to find these ingredients to this recipe, but kind of overblowing it in this fantasy way. And it was fun. The musical choices to the film are really whimsical and playful, and it makes it very easy to settle in and watch the movie and just kind of watch these kids goof off and get into these really ridiculous circumstances. But I do have some issues with the film. This movie's almost 2 hours long, and it's way too long. There are so many sequences in this movie that feel very repetitive, that don't necessarily add anything to the overall story, that may try to provide a one-off joke or trying to put the characters in some sort of different situation. But I felt like we kept getting cyclical dialogue that made it very difficult for me to be like, wow, this is all really useful to the plot, and that really kind of pulled me in and out in moments and made it hard for me to stay 100% invested. Not all the humor in this works. I feel like some of it is incredibly forced, and some of the jokes that the kids tell, especially, like, you can feel that they almost were trying to have kind of like a Napoleon Dynamite, awkward, darker comedy approach to this movie, but not all of it lands. So much of it is in the performances, I feel like, especially from the actors that aren't the kids that are trying to deliver dialogue. And in a moment that's supposed to come off as ridiculous as and absurd, it just feels a little bit clunky. I also think that like this movie was really trying to delve into the fantasy element, and like it's this journey these kids are taking, and even like the villains that are introduced, there's these fantastical elements to them, but I never feel like it pushes far enough in the fantasy direction for me to be like whisked away into this magical world. It's too grounded in reality in a way that it's like, okay, what are you trying to be? Like, are you get that you're trying to say this is real life and kids are seeing this through this fantastical element, and that they're on this journey and some of it has to be overblown. But I think you could have done a better job with some of the visuals, or like some of the moments being like hyper inflated or ridiculous to where the kids are seeing it and like they're battling in medieval times or whatever, to really make it a special movie. And instead it's like kids running around in regular day-to-day life, and not all of it works for that reason. I also feel like the character writing in this movie is incredibly thin. The kids don't really have a whole lot to their personalities, and that's not necessarily saying that they have to, but if you're going to pad this movie out to 2 hours long and constantly cut back to these kids just having random conversations, you have to give me something about their personalities to want to connect to, or something that they're going through, or some struggles in their lives. We don't really learn anything about these kids at all other than like their relationship dynamics together, and I don't think that's really strong enough to carry the movie from start to finish. There's this little girl that's introduced at about the halfway point that becomes a pretty critical part of the movie, and they try to give her a little bit of trauma with what's going on in her life and the struggles that she's dealing with, but I don't feel like that's really enough to carry the movie to the finish line. And if I had to use one word to describe the entirety of the movie, it's clunky. It's very entertaining, but it just feels like there's so many things in the script that could be tidied up to make it like a really incredible, impactful piece of filmmaking. And instead, it's like charming kids having a good time that just doesn't really stick the landing 100%. There's already large elements of the movie that I'm forgetting because there were just so many sequences that didn't stick out comparatively to others that were really visually stunning and really funny, that are still living in my head. And for something that's so tonally inconsistent, I can't 100% say, hey, go watch it right away. But I do think if you're looking for something charming and whimsical with some fun child performances, you'll definitely get something out of Riddle of Fire. So have you seen Riddle of Fire? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought the movie was entertaining, but it definitely has its fair share of flaws. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.